fly now?
They fly now!
And here we go.
It's the comic book bullies.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
It's the comic book bullies.
You will bow down before me!
It's the comic book bullies.
Now I am the master.
It's the comic book bullies. It's the comic book bullies.
Welcome back to the Comic Book Bullies. We're Nerd is the New Bully. I'm your host Leroy, aka the booty.
The Booty Warrior?
No, not the Booty Warrior. I don't know. R. Kelly feeling on your booty. I don't know. With my co-host.
This is Eli 2187.
Okay. Oh, damn. That was a good one. I should have came prepared. I should have took notes. Yeah. So, yeah, we're back with another episode. And, yeah, like I said, I know like a shit ton of comics came out this week. We're not going to talk about any of them. So, if you came here looking for Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 54, I know that joke is old. I like saying it because that book is weird. But all the 5 X-Men books, yes, I'm not joking, 5 X-Men books, and Doomsday Clocks like that, go listen to Comic Cast. They're doing. Unless the geeks have talk about comics this week.
We did not talk about comics.
Damn it. Okay. Still go listen to Geeks Have
We
anyway.
we rarely talk about comics. We talk about movies and we talk shit.
Okay. But as far as Red Hood and Outlaws, no.
No, we do not cover Red Hood. No.
We need more of that. So yeah, we're back another. So what we're gonna do, this is whenever time there's a big tentpole movie that comes out, we talk about just that tentpole movie. Now, normally we just talk about comic book movies. So why are we talking about Star Wars?
Because it's awesome.
It is awesome, but at the same time, there are a lot of awesome movies. But what makes Star Wars different? Because I'm starting to notice that when people talk about comic book movies, they lump Star Wars into that group, even though Star Wars is technically not a comic book movie.
No.
People like to assume it is. I mean, because people just assume that it's adapted from something. You know, like Lord of the Rings. You know, it's adapted from whatever, or Witcher, or whatever, Game of Thrones, all stuff like that. So you just picture, you know, any kind of fantasy adaptation or science fiction adaptation came from somewhere. But no, Star Wars, and even though, yes, there's books and, what was it, like some kind of thing that George Lucas had where he had like notes of what he wanted to do with the book?
Yeah. I mean, there's been comics. Movies came out, or movies spawned actually comics and video games and books.
And that's the thing. That's where it originated from. So Star Wars, unlike these other properties nowadays, is a movie property. That's where everything came from. That is the light source of the movie. George Lucas made this to be movies. If you want to say where it was adapted from, where it came from other movies. You know, George Lucas wanted to make...
it was inspired by a bunch of shit.
By a bunch of shit. Like, George Lucas wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie. They wouldn't give him the rights. So he was like, okay, fuck it, I'll just make my own.
Yeah.
So that's...
It's like Indiana Jones was him doing James Bond.
Basically, so that's what he's doing. So it's a movie adapted or inspired by other movies. This isn't adapted from anywhere else. Now, can you say he had inspiration from other? Like, he had inspiration from everything. Darth Vader is inspired by Dr. Doom.
Yeah,
you know,
and samurais and shit. The outfits,
all this stuff like that. So yeah, all that. So that's the thing. Like, what makes Star Wars so ingrained? I guess because, like I said, comic books come from fantasy and science fiction stuff like that. Star Wars come from fantasy and science fiction, and that's what a lot of people get confused about. What makes different Star Wars from Star Trek? Like, Star Trek is fairly rooted in science fiction. Like, this is the idea what they think things are gonna go with. They've been so in tune with this stuff that the cell phone, the iPhone that we have now, probably came from Star Trek. Because that's pretty much what they were using back then in the 60s when they were thinking of what the future might be. And some, genius saw Star Trek and was like, you know what? I want to make that. And here we are now.
Sliding doors that open and close.
Right. So So they trying to predict where the future is going to go. Star Wars is not that. The easiest way to explain Star Wars is Lord of the Rings in space.
Yeah, it's fantasy.
It's fantasy. That's basically what it is. Like, Star Trek is science fiction. Star Wars is science fantasy. Hopefully we explain that difference to everybody, because a lot of people that aren't into this stuff, they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
You know. So Eli, like I said, we normally do this with and like I said, with Star Wars, it's spawned all kind of stuff: comic books, video games, TV shows, radio shows, podcasts.
And I think why Star Wars is so ingrained, or why it's included with comic books and nerd culture, is because it was one of the biggest examples of nerd culture, and sort of made nerd culture popular back 30 years ago. I mean, there was always those pockets of fans, whether it be comic books or Star Trek. There were Star Trek fan clubs, but Star Wars really was so monumental in, you know, the culture that it sort of united everybody. It united the nerds, it united non-nerds, and it was just a big phenomenal sort of follow.
It made nerd culture mainstream.
Basically.
Yeah, like this isn't Dungeons and Dragons, you know, or Star Trek. Like, you can openly talk to a random person about something from Star Wars, and you know, they won't look at you crazy. Like, well, now they probably would.
yeah. It's been a while, you know, but 20 years ago, yes, most people would know what Star Wars was. You know, nowadays it's been a while, and it's been 30 years, 40 years now, and
you got people
not so much. Yeah,
you got people wearing a badge of honor, bragging about, I've never seen a Star Wars movie before. I've never seen one before, and they're happy to announce that, you know, to everybody. You know, I mean, because I was just saying,
when we were coming up, that was
Oh, I was
when we were coming up, we were, you know, that was sort of a unification.
Right.
You know, you identify. You were like, it was like a secret handshake, or it wasn't so secret, but you know, may the force be with you. Everybody knew what you were talking about.
Right. And the funny thing was, when I was growing up, I just assumed everybody watched Star Wars. Like, everybody had seen Star Wars, at least one of them. You know, I didn't know that going on the internet and like basically. Like, when the Force Awakens came out, 2015?
2015, yeah.
Okay, 2015. I didn't even know that there was so many people that wasn't aware of Star Wars. I just assumed everybody knew something about it. So it was actually like a culture shock to me that people didn't know about it. Yeah. I just assumed everybody just knew about this stuff. Yeah,
and I saw that, like, you know, because I had younger relatives, nieces and nephews, and I remember when the prequels came out, and when the special editions, when he re-released the special editions in theaters, I had, nieces and nephews that had never even seen one.
Wow.
And that was 20 years ago. But like I said, every Star Wars has sort of expanded every generation, and you have the people who love the prequels, you have us old schoolers who are all about the original trilogy, and now we have this new trilogy. It's like every generation is a new crop of fans.
Right, and it's trying to find its way, just like the other movies did also. So, and that's what we're here for. We're going to talk about this new movie. Now, one thing I do think that is very important, and it's the elephant in the room, Eli, that we kind of have to address. One reason that we do have to address Star Wars, because, like I said, it's the movie that made nerd culture mainstream in this generation, and in the generation that came in. But it's happened again in this generation, but just with a different franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe does the same thing. Like I said, we talk about Star Wars, like when Dungeons & Dragons, you can't talk about stuff. You can't talk about Star Trek in public because it's weird. Marvel was the same way 20 years ago. You couldn't talk about like X-Men and Spider-Man. No, you really couldn't. No, Marvel in general, you just couldn't talk about this stuff in public. You couldn't be seen with a comic book. You weren't allowed to know 6 or 7 members of the Avengers. Now people can name like 30 off the top of their head without even blinking. So
you couldn't go to Target and get a comic, a superhero shirt like you can now.
Right, of anything, a superhero shirt of anything.
Like if you had a superhero shirt, like to me, I was like, whoa, where'd you get that?
Right, because you had to look and find that stuff.
Yeah, they were hard to come by.
Yeah. Nowadays you can find a shirt of anybody. I can get a shirt of Star-Lord or whatever. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in. So, but the thing about Marvel Cinematic Universe, like, because Kevin Feige is a huge Star Wars fan. So the DNA of Star Wars is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, he looked at the movie like, this is how they were successful. This is the stuff they do. I'm going to try to, like, mimic them, make it my own thing. But these movies, the way they come out, I'm going to mimic in the same way. You know, the people getting their arms chopped off every movie, stuff like that. That's an homage to Star Wars. You know, because almost every movie, one of those movies, somebody get their arms chopped off.
Yeah.
You know.
And get replaced with a robot arm.
And right, you're supposed to robot arm, they back, you know, stuff like that. So that's the thing. So like, it's so many movies. I mean, it's not just Marvel. I'm just using Marvel as an example, but it's so many movies that Star Wars. I mean, not even just nerd movies, like blockbuster movies, like you know, summer blockbuster movies. Star Wars taught Hollywood how to make these movies.
Yes,
you know,
Star
George Lucas. And,
changed the way we watch movies, how movies are made. I mean, let's get serious. George Lucas, you know, Industrial Light and Magic, they were the pioneers of special effects.
Yep.
And without Star Wars, none of any of the other movies would have been made. You know, you're talking every movie you saw that had special effects, most likely George Lucas had a hand in it.
Yeah, and
you're talking Ghostbusters. You're talking everything. You know, all those guys got their work. You know, started out. You know, either working in Star Wars or were taught by working in Star Wars or worked on Star Wars. You know, and yeah, Star Wars is the catalyst for our modern day movies now.
Right. And back then, that's the thing, like when Star Wars was first made, like in the 70s, anything like that, they were really the only game in town. They were the leader of everything. Just like I said, ILM made everything. It took years before other movies could catch up with the special effects that Star Wars was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when they were winning like special effects awards left and right because they pretty much wrote the book on this stuff. Like nobody was doing what they were doing. It was just like Star Wars was just in a league of its own when you talk about special effects.
Yeah, I mean, Disney tried with the black hole, and watch the black hole and watch Star Wars. There's no comparison. Right. You know which one George Lucas worked on.
Exactly, you know? and that's the thing because, like I said, back then Star Wars was the only game in town, and that may be why things have changed now because every 2 months you get a big blockbuster, you know, looking movie like that nowadays. Yeah. So it's not just like it's Star Wars and everything. It kind of does, you know, get mixed in with everything else because there's so many. That's all there is in the theaters nowadays. Yeah. You know, if you're not doing that, you get stuck to Netflix.
Yeah. And so many like I said, back to like Industrial Light and Magic. I mean, you know, guys defected from that company. You know, that's how Battlestar Galactica became a thing because who was it, Dykstra? Mm-hmm. Like left Industrial Light and Magic to work on Battlestar Galactica in the 70s.
Yep.
And you know, and then you had Rick Baker who worked on Star Wars and made monsters. He taught a whole generation of younger monster makers, you know. And that's how all these other horror movies were made and all the monsters that we've seen and The Thing and you know, all those monster effects. You know, it all kind of spun out of this crew of I mean, Industrial Light and Magic was just this crew of artists that were kind of breaking.
I think that's where Pixar came from.
And innovate, yeah, Pixar because George Lucas. I mean, Industrial Light and Magic. It was it Dennis Muren? He developed CGI.
Yeah.
You know, CGI and computer effects, and you know that they were the ones who started that shit, and. You know, that's how Jurassic Park and Terminator, you go and look all your favorite movies, it all most likely was done by Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah. You know? Or even just the way films have been shot. Like everybody hates the movie, Attack of the Clones. It was the first digital movie. Like everything was analog on film before that. George Lucas said, no, I'm going to change the way we film movies now with Attack of the Clones. It was revolutionary at the time, but now that's all you see nowadays, you know.
Yeah. He developed the HD camera.
Yeah.
Shot those prequels are all shot on HD video.
Yeah. And which is actually one of the reasons George Lucas wanted to even make the prequels to begin with. He was like, if I make these movies, it's going to force me to come up with new technology to make these movies.
Yeah. And that inspired all these other new movies. That's how Sin City, Robert Rodriguez.
Yep.
You know, he bought HD cameras from George Lucas so he could do Sin City and Machete and all his the Spy Kids movies. Those are all shot on video. So he inspired another generation of filmmakers. Zack Snyder, all his shit. 300. That was all inspired by the shit that was done on the prequels.
Right. And that's the thing, like a lot of people don't understand the cultural impact of Star Wars. It's there. You may not notice it, but you feel it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a fan of any movies or anything like that. Like that got me into movies watching Star Wars. I want to just watch anything just to see it. It's it probably got me into comic books also, just the science fiction, fantasy, stuff like that. I like that type of world. What else do you have? Comics, that's all that is. So that's probably Star Wars in a way probably started my love for comics.
Yeah.
Even though it's a movie, but just the fact that you want to just, be in that world. And
comic book movies would not have existed without those innovations in special effects.
Yeah. Oh, they wouldn't have. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's why it took so long for them to really catch up.
Even if you go back and watch the original Superman movies, those are very crude effects.
Right.
And then you
and
fast forward 10
of their
years,
time,
Yeah, you fast forward to the X-Men and Spider-Man, of the those movies, that's when technology caught up to where we can believe Spider-Man exists and the X-Men exist and these powers exist.
Like I know people hate Man of Steel, but watch the Superman versus Zod fight in that movie. Then watch the Superman versus Zod fight in Superman 2 and see the difference.
Yeah, where he just hits them with the flagpole. And
right. Throws an S at him or some shit. Like,
they just blow at each other. Just blow.
Throw him to a cigarette truck. Like, that's how you know it's the 80s.
That manhole cover. Throw him
right,
like a frisbee and shit.
It's like I said, just you got to watch all this stuff in the stats. But like I said, we didn't come here. Well, we came here to talk about Star Wars because we've always put a lid on Star Wars because even as fans, all the fans are conflicted on how they view Star Wars, and we are too. Like I said, 'cause we're both fans, so we're conflicted sometimes. We kind of put it in a bottle and just leave it there, so we don't burst into an internet rage just like everybody else does. But here we're gonna talk about Star Wars, gonna celebrate it, and we came to talk about one very specific movie, which is Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. I always get that shit confused. So we came to talk about this movie, what we think about it, what we like about it. We're gonna address everything: the Rotten Tomatoes score, the audience score, what we specifically thought about it, ignoring the internet, and we're going to just dig into it. Now, before we jump to the podcast, let me talk about the box office numbers.
Okay.
Might as well. Just get it out the way, So, let's start with it. Give it to me, Larry. What's number one movie of the week?
It's probably that one Disney movie, right?
It is a Disney movie. Yeah.
It is a Disney movie.
It will always be a Disney movie. So, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Eli, can you give it to me? What was the box office domestic returns of this weekend?
Of this weekend?
Yep.
For Star Wars?
Yeah.
What are they saying? I saw it's like 100, at least 170 or a million or something.
170 million. Yeah.
Yeah. It's lower than. It's one of the lowest one I heard. That's what
okay. So let's break down like out of the Disney Wars movies. Let's Mouse Wars. Yeah. Okay. So out of the main Skywalker movies in the franchise, yes, this is the lowest gross opening weekend. However, it did outgross Rogue One and Solo, but of course we're gonna outgross Solo.
Oh yeah, Solo bombed.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're gonna see how it goes. I mean, 175 million is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, I think they were I think there's some they were projecting more, but I don't know.
I mean, that's
and people. I mean, I seen there's one article like, "Whoa, Star Wars breaks record or blah 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 with 175," and then I see other, "Whoa, Star Wars lowest Skywalker saga." Like people just want to shit on.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have. So the thing is, the information I used to use, Box Office Mojo, that kind of took away my like all my stuff I used to have. So I used to like really be able to break these numbers down. I can't really do that now, but I'm thinking it's probably like the fourth highest grossing, opening weekend of all time in this month or something, Yeah. And Disney is still like pissed.
What is the highest? Is Force Awakens the highest?
It's got to be. I like because Force Awakens, broke $2 billion.
What you said? Yeah. I know Force Awakens like it grossed.
Yeah, like overall
Like-
grossing,
like-
but
like
I mean,
the-
as far as
like-
like the highest grossing, yeah, I sent you. I know I sent you numbers. But,
I was looking at. I think it was the
damn,
opening.
you doing my job, Eli? Damn.
Yeah. Well, you sent me the link, and I
know, I feel
took a glance on.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Force Awakens did high. I know it was over 200 million, but like I said, if you could pull that number up in for me,
Yeah,
I'll be-
Force Awakens. Oh yeah, it made like 900. Oh gee, yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. I
was
think
up
it's the highest. No,
That was domestic. It was like 930 million. That was just domestic.
yeah, it's the highest grossing domestic movie of all time in the United States.
Yeah. And with another 200 million overseas and shit.
Yeah. And when we're going to talk about China also, that's kind of a big part of what's going on right now.
Where's the 175, 900? Well, that's the okay. Where's the weekend? Okay, weekends. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah. Force Awakens is the highest with 247 million.
That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Disney was thinking because that's the highest grossing opening weekend of all time. So
Rise of Skywalker's in second with 220 million.
And they were
That's
upset
funny
about
as
that.
hell.
Right.
That's the one that ruined Star Wars, and that made over 220.
Oh, you meant the Last Jedi. You meant the Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. That's the.
That's the one that gives like it only made 1.3 billion. You know, though this movie's a flop. Like, calm
Yeah.
down, guys. Now, people are now. Of course, Disney is upset about that because yes, it did 1.3 billion, which is an insane amount of numbers. That's still 700 million less than the movie before it.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't, like I said, we don't know the future of what Star Wars is going to do. I do feel like if this movie doesn't break $1 billion, Disney is not going to be happy about that because they are banking everything around these movies, the TV shows, the theme parks, the comic books, the video games. Everything is spun around the movie. So the more money the movie makes, the more money everything else makes because people are going to want to see this stuff.
Yeah. Well, Iger already said that they're taking a break after.
Yeah.
Because Force Awakens is $2 billion. Yeah, that made $2 billion. Shit, fucking yeah. So did For Last Jedi made over $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Rogue One made over $1 billion.
Rogue One made Rogue One. No,
I think like 1.2 or something like that.
Where'd it go? Which one? Yes, okay. Worldwide. Okay, here we go. Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One made $1 billion.
Yeah. So the only one that didn't make $1 billion was Solo.
So yeah, 392
Yeah.
million.
Right. Which, for everybody else, it would have been like if Ant-Man would have did those numbers, everybody would have been, temp for joy. And that's the thing, Eli. Do we hold Star Wars to a higher standard? Maybe Star Wars fans hold Star Wars to a higher standards than other movie fans do.
I think so. I think that's because these are events.
Right.
I mean, they've always been sort of they were basically the first summer movie blockbuster.
Yeah. That and Jaws. Yeah.
That and Jaws. Yeah. I mean, where people waited for that movie to come out. And it was a big, huge thing, and people stood in line for hours. This is before online, where if you wanted to see it on opening night, you had to go there mad early and wait in line. And
right. So that's the first one. That's the New Hope. It was this phenomenon. But then let's talk about Empire Strikes Back. Now, Empire Strikes Back, like if you look at the list of cinema movies, like Godfather and all those movies, Empire Strikes Back is usually in that list. Like they listed as one of the best cinematic movies of all time, like a game changer, like Gone with the Wind and shit like that. They'll put Empire Strikes Back in the same list. I've seen plenty of those lists like that. You can pull them up, stuff like that. So yes, Star Wars has a very high standard. So yes, anytime you make a movie like Solo, the fans are going to rip it apart because they don't expect mediocrity.
Yeah, that is one thing that
I mean, like I said, I like Solo, but yes, it was a mediocre movie. And like, do we want more than that from Star Wars when they had such a high bar, like this phenomenon, and you're putting on these best lists, and they win these Oscars left and right for special effects, things like that. Now you're just gonna put out something
that's just okay.
Yeah, it's
You're tainting the name when
Exactly,
you put
because
out
you're taking the
something
legacy
crappy.
overall of the movie. You know.
Yeah. I
So
mean, as fans, I'll always cherish the chance to see a Star Wars movie.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of these movies I haven't liked as much as others.
And that's the thing I want to ask you. So, does a new movie, if it's not as good, like I said, we haven't even got to Rise of Skywalker yet. We're gonna get to that in a second. But if the movie is not as good, does it tarnish the legacy overall?
That's, I mean, for the general public, yeah. But I mean, I think the fan base, there's always going to be a love for if you're a fan, you don't give a shit. I mean, yeah, you're a Superman fan. You like BVS. How many times you see BVS in the theater?
You want me to live my truth, Eli? That's what
But I mean, Star Trek fans.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody nobody likes any of the Star Trek movies. Like what Wrath of Khan is like the only good one, and
Right.
nobody likes the rest of them. But there's still Star Trek fans who still read and watch this
don't
shit.
even talk about the J.J. Abrams movies.
Yeah, the J.J. Abrams, what I liked, because I wasn't a big Star Trek fan, but I liked them.
You know why we liked it?
Because it was like
reminds us of
Star Wars. Well, yeah, I mean, I mean, Batman, I started out with 66 Batman, and now, look at us now. I mean,
We got
I still
Twilight,
saw yeah. I mean, the fans, I mean, that's the thing, is Star Wars is so huge that, yeah, I think the general public's interest is starting to wane. The fans are always going to be there, but the general public, they're like,
I think that is part of it, Eli, but at the same time, I also think that it's a new generation.
Yeah.
Like I said, we were kids when we got into this stuff, so Star Wars, whatever you want to say Star Wars is, at the end of the day, it's a kid's movie. Because we got into it as kids. So these movies have to appeal to kids, but at the same time, they have to do something to appeal to kids. And I think a lot of kids, they look at Star Wars like, oh, that's that old thing. That's the thing our parents like. But they have to reinvent themselves to appeal to kids. And I don't think they really, hit the nerve yet on that, or crack the code on how to appeal to the same demographic that it did 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I think right now what we're getting is parents dragging their kids to see these movies.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, because, as a kid, I saw Return of the Jedi when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
I had no problem with the Ewoks, And then I find out, as I got an adult, I found out that a bunch of adults hated the Ewoks.
Right.
I'm like, really? I had Ewok soap. Like, what the I had Ewok underoos. I didn't give a shit.
Who was the Ewoks made to appeal to?
Yeah, I was 8 years old, had no problem.
Yeah. So if you're 4 years old watching this movie, you're gonna have a problem with some killing teddy bears.
Yeah, and then fucking, the prequels, everybody hated Jar Jar. But
I fucking hated Jar Jar.
But there's a bunch of kids who did not give a shit about Jar Jar, who did not mind him.
But you're right, because I was older watching these prequels.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching Jar Jar, I'm like, look at this offensive shit.
It wasn't offensive to me until the South Park.
Oh, no, that shit was offensive to me from the beginning, man.
I was like, at first I was like, yeah, Jar Jar, I could take him or leave him. He's an Ewok, I get it. And then it wasn't until that one South Park when oh God, that was bad. I was like, okay, damn. But yeah. I mean, to generate, I think, and now we have Baby Yoda. I mean, that's what we have now. Is Baby Yoda.
And honestly, I think that was a complete accident.
Yeah.
I know they have focus tested marketing for this, but I think Baby Yoda caught them off guard, because that's why they don't have the any Christmas toys up.
It's like Kenner all over again back in '77.
Right.
They have the toys ready, and like they tried to shove BB-8 down everybody's throat.
No one cared.
I don't think that caught on. They tried to shove porgs down our throat. Nobody gave a shit.
Right.
And now, hey, well, they finally struck gold with Baby Yoda.
Didn't even know they had the one thing they didn't plan for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's just dive into this movie. Like I said, we're gonna talk about Rise of Skywalker now. We're gonna get into like I said, I've been completely avoiding Eli's post about the movie, so I don't know what he thinks about this movie. I've made
Really?
sure.
I'm posting the fuck out of it all week. And shit.
I've been ignoring you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
And that's what friends are for. Yeah. So, and I've been completely keeping my opinion, away from the internet. So nobody knows what I think, because if anyone wants to know what I think about this movie, that's what this podcast is for.
All right.
So, but first thing we're going to talk about is the Rotten Tomatoes score, because we have to address it. It's the elephant in the room. We got to address it, but it's very interesting, these numbers. So, the Rotten Tomatoes score, critic score right now is 57%. Rotten. It's the lowest Star Wars score ever on Rotten Tomatoes. The flip side of that, because you gotta. That's the thing. People weaponize Rotten Tomatoes to use it however they see fit, but you got to look at the whole thing. So yes, the critic score 57%, but the audience score is 86%.
Yeah, it's flip flop.
Yeah, so it's the exact opposite of what it was for the Last Jedi. The Last Jedi had a nice. I'm not gonna pull it up. I have the numbers in here because I want to make sure I'm accurate with this view collection. I'm gonna look at the Last Jedi because it's almost flip flop of what the Last Jedi did.
Yeah.
Last Jedi. Yep. Last Jedi critic score. Eli, get this. 91%.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And the critic and then the audience score is 43%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now a lot of people, they had all these reports, stuff like that some bots had hacked into it and they made the score go to shit and stuff like that. But people say that.
It's true. I mean, I remember seeing Last Jedi opening night, coming out of it, liking it, and then I called Anthony, who had just seen it an hour after me, and he was pissed.
Right. So that's the thing. But you remember the stories about how the bots had hacked into Rotten Tomatoes and made the critic score go to shit. But if that's the case, why does everybody hate this movie?
Yeah.
So the bots hacked into Rotten Tomatoes to just reflect the score that everybody feels about it anyway? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, it's a divisive movie. It basically divided the fan base and kind of ruined Star Wars for the past 2 years.
Yeah, because because the fans have been each other's throat. You can't talk about Star Wars.
You can't talk about Star Wars.
We couldn't even talk about Star Wars.
We don't talk about Star Wars. I mean, if you go back and listen, we had to record our Geek Savs episode twice because the first time we were screaming at each other and the levels were going up where it was like getting all distorted and you couldn't understand what the fuck we were saying.
Yeah.
So we had to go it again where we kind of calmed down. Okay, let's be concise where people understand what the fuck we're saying. And let's, dial it back a bit because we were divided. He hated it and I didn't,
Right. I mean, but I understand what's the advice movie. That's what the Rise of the Skywalker is here for, because J.J. Abrams had a Herculean task on his hands. Mm-hmm. He had to appease the people that actually liked The Last Jedi. He had to apologize for people that hated The Last Jedi. He had to make a conclusion to this movie, which also was wrapping up all the story seeds that he planted in Force Awakens, and get the franchise back on track so they can sell more toys and theme parks and comic books and video games, stuff like that. So, yeah, Eli, I'm going to let you go first. Now, I'm going to let you break down. We're just going to give a non-spoiler, just quick thing about what you think about it, and then we're just going to go balls deep into spoilers after that. But
non-spoiler.
First, just your quick review, non-spoiler. Okay. Yeah.
It's been weird. It's been a weird week for me.
An emotional roller coaster.
It has been, really. Okay, non-spoiler. Mm-hmm. This reminds me, I went to art college, art school. I took a comic book art class. Mm-hmm. With a bunch of comic nerds. And I remember all they did was complain. This is back in the 90s. So when they brought Superman back to life, they were pissed. Everyone just bitched about it. And
it kind of killed the comics industry in the 90s. So
they hated Superman coming back to life. This one kid hated the fact that all of a sudden the Penguin was being called Cobblepot.
What? That's okay.
Yeah, he was never called Cobblepot in the comics. What the fuck? They were just a hateful group. I remember just being in that class. Like they were just a bunch of bitches, kind of. We had an assignment. We had to do a political comic. a one-panel political cartoon.
Okay.
Something that makes a political statement, a social statement.
Like
I
the
chose
Boondocks. Okay.
Yeah, like the Boondocks, like the Far Side or something, or Doonesbury or whatever. But one panel, one image, making a political, social statement. I chose police brutality, and so I drew a cop beating the shit out of this guy, and then I put the caption, Officer McDougan trying out some moves he learned on SmackDown.
Okay.
And then he's saying, "Smell what the cops got cooking."
Okay.
Yeah. Then you got to put it up in front of the class, and everyone looks at it and talks shit about it, critiques it. I put it up, and all these comic nerds are like, "What does that mean?" And I'm like, "Wrestling, SmackDown. The cop. You ever see The Rock wrestle? He says that's his slogan. Smell what the Rock's got cooking." And they're like, "Oh." Apparently none of those motherfuckers watch wrestling.
Wow.
Instead of talking about the message and what I drew, they launched into this long discussion about how wrestling is fake and how much they hate wrestling and how wrestling sucks.
Yeah, they completely missed the point of the actual comic.
And I was like, okay.
You know what? I noticed that a lot when you start talking about like real like comic book geek stuff like that. They kind of missed the point of what you're trying to say.
Yeah. There's, wrestling's fake. Oh, it's just rednecks to watch that shit. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you motherfuckers. You're not talking about what this means or what matters. Here's something that I put a lot of time and effort and love into, and you guys are totally missing it and just bitching about shit.
Right.
That's kind of how I felt about Star Wars this whole week. Like, okay, I'm really excited about this movie because I'm a Star Wars fan and I want to I'm really excited to see it. I bought my tickets 2 months in advance, really stoked, but I feel like I can't show my excitement for it.
Right. Because people are just waiting to attack anybody having fun with this movie.
Yeah, it's like and then finally the night before the movie came, you know what? Fuck it. Star Wars. It's a new fucking Star Wars movie. I'm excited. I'm going to have fun with it. Fuck everybody. And that's what I've been like. I love Star Wars. Fuck you. That's what I've been doing. So we went and saw the movie and we liked it. There's my non-spoiler review.
Okay. Okay. So good things, bad things, but I mean, what did you like about the movie?
I liked that it was fast paced, that it had everything that I want. Like, yeah, it's everything. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's got everything you want. And that's the thing. I was reading some of those reviews, and they're like, "Oh, Star Wars full of space battles and lightsaber fights." Oh, like really? You're
like,
bitching
that's what we
about
were going to see, right?
Star Wars movie for having spaceships in it? You fucking idiot. So I learned right away. I was like, okay. And then some people, like, I was watching YouTube videos of people trying to review the movie. And some of those motherfuckers don't even know how to pronounce words, certain planet names or words. Or one dude was like, yeah, that one movie where Luke blew up the Death Star. I'm like, you don't know that movie's called? Okay, like, why do you have a YouTube channel, moron?
Right. You don't know anything about Star Wars.
Yeah, your opinion means shit to me now. So as a fan, I was satisfied. There were a couple of things that I had an issue with. I won't go into spoilers, but I did feel like, yes, they retconned some shit from The Last Jedi.
Right.
Most of it I didn't mind, but there was a couple that I thought that was just sort of lazy and sort of just convenient.
Yeah. And
that I was like, but then again, who cares? Fuck it. I just, went along for the ride. And overall, I had a good time. I had a blast. I saw it twice.
You saw it twice. Okay, slap score on it. You gotta give me a score. Give me a score.
4.5 out of 5.
Oh wow, we're up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of my new favorites. It might be one of my new favorites.
Okay.
I liked it a lot better than the last two movies. Coming out of The Force Awakens, I was kind of like, Coming out of Last Jedi, I was like, whoa. I wasn't prepared for that. I enjoyed it, but I was like, wow, that was different. And then The Last Jedi made me think, and that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
That it was different. This one, I came out like, woo! You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's just, it made me feel like a kid again. And that's why I still like this shit.
Okay. All right. So that score 4.5 out of 5 is what you got. Man, this is this is probably the hardest movie I've ever had to critique and review and just think about after I got away from it. Some movies I'm like, okay, yeah, this is this. Some movies just like, okay, can we figure out about it? This movie had to like really sit down and just think about it. I feel like there's two ways to look at this movie because, like I said, we got a critic score and we got an audience score. Two different, completely different scores on it. And the thing is, Eli, I can see both scores. I see why both scores are the way they are. Yeah. I can see why the fans, just like you gave it a 4.5 out of 5, I completely understand that because I do feel like this movie checks all the boxes that Star Wars fans are looking for. And I almost feel like that's to a fault. I do feel like they went on Reddit and let Reddit write this movie. Like, everything you want, we're going to do this. You want Rey to be somebody, she's somebody.
And we called this. You called it. We called they're gonna fix everything.
Right. They're gonna find every bitching fan on Twitter and Reddit and Facebook and just address their problem. They see a complaint about too much, that's what they're gonna address. And that's what they did.
Yeah. Welcome back to the flock, bitches.
Right. That's what it was. Like, take me back, please. That's what this movie it felt like, an apology. I cheated on you. Baby, take me back. That's what this movie felt like. So I get that. So I get why Star Wars fans are there, because everything Star Wars fans look for, like, I don't care about you subverting my expectations or throwing something new at me. Give me what I want. I wanted Luke to slap everybody in the slap an army by himself. Give me something like that. And basically whatever you want, they give you in this movie. Now, as far as the actual movie, like that's my Star Wars fans lens I was looking through then. Like, the movie's giving me what I want. I'm cool. But as far as a movie, like, just take the Star Wars out of it, take the fan part out of it. This movie is a mess, Eli. It just is. I'm gonna go into it and tell you why I feel like the movie is a mess. Okay. Like I said, I know we're gonna get into it. That's why I waited for us to do this. Now, I don't care about plot holes and conveniences and things like that. I don't care about that shit. So all these, wannabe YouTube armchair critics talking about stuff like that, they can go fucking fly a kite for all I care. What I do care about is I do feel like you said, the movie was fast-paced. I think it was fast-paced to a fault. I think it was too fast-paced. I think the reason it was too fast-paced because they did have to address so much stuff, had to retcon The Last Jedi, had to tie back in The Force Awakens, had to make their own movie, had to throw in so much fan service, had to get the fans back on pace, had to develop characters that they hadn't developed before, had to add new characters in there. I think it came this close to collapsing on its own weight because they had to throw so much stuff in at you. Like, for instance, who we got? Rey, Poe, Finn, those three characters. This is the first time they've been on screen together. This is the third fucking movie. And they're just throwing together. We're supposed to pretend like that they're just best friends and stuff like that, when we still learning stuff about them. Poe is a fucking spice runner? When the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And just throwing in just random that's a big fucking deal. That this dude is a criminal scoundrel and he's the general of your army. And we're just going to throw this away in casual conversation. Like, that's something they just can't throw in there. Like, I get it that he used to be a Han Solo type guy. Like, he's the Han Solo of this generation. They're like, nah, fuck it. He's just Han Solo. Just fuck it. Spice runner. Criminal. Scoundrel. Okay. So that's one thing.
Oh, that's a comic series right there.
Oh,
that's a TV show.
We know. But how did he learn how to do that? Find out in 2022.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get Finn. He's just here. He has no arc. He's just here. His arc was in Force Awakens. He had a complete arc there. Stormtrooper, Heart of Gold, or whatever like that. In The Last of the Jedi, he repeated the exact same fucking arc. Now he's just here, just to do shit, And that's the thing. Like, these characters, I don't feel anything from these characters, Eli. So when they're going through these, this adventure, I don't feel like I'm on the adventure with them. I feel like I was in the adventure with Luke, Lon, and Hay and stuff like that. This, I just feel like I'm just watching a light show. Because I'm not invested in any of these characters. And don't let me get started on Rey. Can I talk about Rey? Let me talk about Rey.
Yeah, talk about Rey.
She's the most OP motherfucker I've ever seen in a movie. Captain Marvel, fuck Captain Marvel. It's Rey. I'm going to do a death battle with Captain Marvel versus Rey before this shit is over with. And see how divided that shit is. Because she's so invincible, so overpowered, I don't feel anything from her. I don't feel like she's in any danger at all. So she's just doing shit and just going through the motions. Because I know at the end of the day, she's going to pull some new force power out of her ass and just win. I was like, whatever, fuck. So, yeah, all that is going on. You got all these new characters popping up, which actually they seem pretty interesting, but there's so little of them in the movie, you don't feel anything from them either. But the movie feel like it wants you to care about them. The only people that really care about is the old characters. C-3PO.
Yeah, that's what moved me. Like, I actually teared up a few times, and it was always about an old character.
Yeah, Chewie.
Yeah.
Lando. Yeah.
Lando, yeah.
And now, here's the thing. That the only new character I actually really care about is Kylo Ren.
That is true.
In all these movies, he's the only character I ever really gave a shit about. And that's the weird thing. Like, and I'm going to talk about that in a second in the spoiler section, because that's another problem I have.
Because his character was most fleshed out.
Exactly.
Because we didn't know who Rey was. We were supposed to not know who Rey was, and they kept it mysterious and all that shit. And, you know, but we knew who Kylo Ren was. We knew his background. We knew he was a fucking Skywalker. Mm-hmm. We knew he was the son of Han and Leia. And the fact that he went dark, that's what made him interesting.
Yeah, but I feel like there's another reason why he's interesting, but I'll talk about that in the spoiler section, because another issue I have with this movie. Now, Eli, everything I just said about that, this is still my favorite Disney Star Wars movie.
Okay.
Out of all the shit I just said, even though I know I just shit on this movie, so I can go ahead and say all that to say this, that I do feel like it is the best Disney Star Wars movie. Better than Solo. You know. Because I always rank that as my top. I know you hated Solo, but I was like, I was like, out of all these movies, Solo is the one I hate the least. So I'll just go with that one. I was like, no, this one is the best one out of all the movies, because like, as a Star Wars fan, it did check the boxes. It is a pretty movie. It's probably the prettiest Star Wars movie. You can argue The Last Jedi, because Last Jedi has some awesome looking shots in it.
Yeah, Last Jedi, the opening shot of Last Jedi is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that just has
zoom through the ships and down to the planet. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was
that
awesome.
whole crate scene, the color schemes on crate.
Exactly. Yeah. So we can argue about
we're
that.
We're not allowed to talk about Last Jedi, because
because they're gonna get into a whole argument stuff like that. But this is a pretty looking movie. This is a pretty movie. It's entertaining. I was never bored. I was never bored through this movie the whole time. I was always energetic and entertained in it. There was some plot convenience. I'm just like, oh. And even when they was about to announce shit, I'm in the theater like, you better not say it. You better not say it. You better not say it. Oh, fuck, they said it. Mm-hmm. Oh, shit. You know, that's how it was in the movie. The movie was very predictable, because it was predictable to a fault, because they want you to get back on board. So they're not going to do anything to subvert your expectations, because that's what the fuck The Last Jedi did. So we're not going to do any of that shit here. We're going to be as completely predictable as possible. And that's what the movie did. Yeah. But like I said, it felt like a Fast and Furious movie. Like, I went the same way I enjoy those Fast and Furious movies and those brain dead Transformers movies is the way I enjoy this movie. Now, is that what we're going to expect from our Star Wars movies? Like we just said that Empire Strikes Back is on the same level of Gone with the Wind. Now I'm putting this movie in the same level as Fast and the Furious. Is that what we are now? So
yeah, and see, I kind of see what you're saying, because I'm not as engaged with these new characters like I am with the old ones, and that was my main thing coming out of Force Awakens.
Right.
You know, coming out of Force Awakens, I was like, okay, Han died, and Luke wasn't in it.
Because that's the thing, because they and it's not a knock on the new characters. I just feel like they didn't spend enough time with them.
Yeah,
they didn't develop them.
And then I mean, and I thought Rey was cool in that first movie, and see, I had to the Force Awakens is where I came to terms with my fandom with it. Okay, and I had to realize this is not my Star Wars anymore. Mm-hmm. I had my trilogy. Like I came to terms with the prequels. I understood. Okay, the prequels were like a lesson for me of I'm not going to get what I want anymore. Yep. This is away from me. And I enjoyed them for what they were. And these new movies are like the same way. It's like I'm a boomer. You know, I'm a Star Wars boomer. This is not my movies anymore. I'm not as engaged with these newer characters, and this is passing on this mythology to a new generation. And once I realized that, then I was able to, subvert my expectations and just enjoy the joy of just watching a new Star Wars movie. And that's simply what I've been doing.
But see, here's the thing about these movies. Like the first three movies, the original trilogy was a trilogy. Yeah. Whatever you want to say about the prequels, it was a trilogy, beginning, middle, end. This is not a trilogy. This is just a bunch of movies.
Yeah, I don't think they develop they didn't have the story developed the way the other ones were.
This is what I felt would happen, because there were some plot points that J.J. Abrams introduced in The Force Awakens that are never even referred to in this one, or never even mentioned in this one. I don't even think he cares. He was just throwing shit out there. Yeah. He was making The Force Awakens. I'm gonna just make a whole bunch of mysteries, and that's one reason that kind of irks me about the movie, gets on my nerves about the movie. He was just throwing so much shit at you that he didn't answer. Yeah, and I don't even think he knew the answer to them. So he left. So you got Ryan Johnson coming in, and Ryan Johnson probably asked Kathleen Kennedy, "Do they have any notes or something? Do the fuck you want? I don't care."
Yeah, they let him do what he wanted,
and they let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. I can do whatever I want to do. Okay, I'm gonna just do whatever I want to do. And
I don't give a shit about that. Yeah,
yeah, and you can tell Ryan, and they shit him as much as they want to. You can tell Ryan Johnson is a Star Wars fan. You can tell, and he wanted to make this his own thing. Like, yes, I know they've done this, and everybody criticized Force Awakens for being a repeat of a movie, so I'm gonna just do something completely different. And people got pissed about that because think about it, Force Awakens was a hit. It was a monster hit. Why? Because it checked all the boxes.
It apologized for the prequels.
It apologized for the prequels.
The prequels were divisive. Right. That's what people don't realize is the prequels pissed off a lot of fans.
Right. It's why George Lucas sold the franchise.
Yeah.
Because he got tired of the bitching himself.
Yeah. And so people were like, oh shit, fuck, more Star Wars movies. And we were worried back then. Oh, how is this new movie going to be? Right.
So yeah, it was an apology for that. So let's just give you everything you remember.
Yeah.
So Ryan Johnson came in. Okay, we've done that. People criticize the movie for doing it, so we can't do the same thing again. If we do the same thing again, they're really good traits that this franchise is bankroll. So I'm gonna just do something completely different. People got pissed. Whoa, did they get pissed? So J.J. Abrams is back because J.J. wasn't on schedule to direct this movie.
No.
That's why he didn't give a shit what anybody else did. He was like, I'm gonna just throw out a bunch of shit. Y'all figure it out.
Yeah.
Because he didn't expect to come back.
It was the Jurassic Park guy.
Right, but something happened. No, I know. No, it wasn't. Something happened to him. Well, I think he said some stupid shit on Twitter.
Well, there was some creative differences, and he basically said, "Fuck it, I don't feel like doing this." And I think it was he didn't want to. He didn't want to do a bunch of shit that they wanted to do.
Right.
Like he wanted to basically make his own movie too.
The same way Ryan Johnson made his movie.
He wanted to be another Ryan Johnson.
Right.
And they're like, no.
It's got to bring back like Marvel has right now. They hire yes men.
Yeah.
And J.J. Abrams is a yes man.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. They got a guy in here to just crank out the movie that they want them to crank out that's going to just sell popcorn and publicity.
And that should have been the plan from the beginning. They should have had a creative team that fleshed out this trilogy. And we've talked about this before. I mean, George Lucas had a mythology in his head.
Right. And the funny thing about it, George Lucas didn't have this shit as fleshed out as people think he did.
No.
Like, he had a middle, beginning, end, but a lot of this shit he was making on the fly, but he had a destination. Okay, I'm going to make up some shit in the middle, but I'm going to eventually get here. Yeah. They didn't do that here. They keep talking about, Kathleen Kennedy keep talking about, Palpatine was the whole bullshit. Oh, wait, are we talking spoilers? We're not talking spoilers. He was in the trailer.
He was in the trailer.
Okay, so we can talk about that. Yeah, but that was bullshit. There was no plan to put Palpatine in these movies.
Yeah, I don't know, because he popped up in the game. The Battlefront 2, he popped up in there. So there was always, and that was 2 years ago. So yeah. So it makes me wonder, but no, Colin Trevorrow did not want to have Palpatine back there.
Right. Because I feel like because the thing is, this is a universe. This is a galaxy. When you keep going back to the well the same way you've been going to before, you shrink in the universe. It makes it turns Star Wars Galaxy to like Star Wars Neighborhood. Like, how many times are we gonna keep going back to Mos Eisley? Yeah. Invent some new shit. Go to different places. If you fuck up, you fuck up.
Yeah.
But
like Ryan Johnson did. Ryan Johnson showed us new shit.
Right. But at the same time, you show us new shit. That's my whole thing. So, and here's the thing. Like, I've been on Twitch, just like you've been on YouTube and watching all these, these critics, quotation marks, shit on this movie, saying all this bullshit that they don't know about Star Wars. I've been on the exact opposite of the fence. What I've been is on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook and places like that, and reading YouTube comments and seeing what they are saying about the movie. Now, the critics are talking all this shit about the movie because they want to get clickbait. However, the fans of these movies, they love this movie, Eli.
Yeah.
I'm seeing all kind of rank your top 11 Star Wars movies like that. A lot of people are putting this very high in their list. They're not saying it's the worst. Only people I'm seeing saying it's the worst movie are the wannabe critics or the people that haven't seen the movie and are weaponizing Rotten Tomatoes.
Or just want to, or just who just want to shit on it just regardless.
Right. Or don't have no affinity for Star Wars to begin with. And
yeah, there's a whole population out there who are rooting for Star Wars to fail. Right. and they're gonna gloat in its failure, and that's what they want to see. They're just they just want to see it fuck up and want to see it bomb, want to see it end, and yeah.
But at the same time, Eli, at the end of the day, who's right? I mean, is Rian Johnson right for subverting expectations and going a different route, or is it J.J. Abrams being completely safe? Where all the Star Wars fans that we're seeing right now loving this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say J.J.
I
Abrams.
mean, I loved it. I put it on my high. I told you. I just said it was one of my favorite.
Right.
One of my new favorite out of this new the new batch of movies.
Right.
You know. But I still like Rogue One better. But I mean, that's just me. But it is out of this trilogy. This just these three the Skywalker's trilogy. It's this new one. It's my favorite. You know,
it's the best one, but is it one that will stick with you? That's the thing. See, we're still prisoners of the moment.
Yeah,
the movie just came out this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I saw I saw all those prequels multiple times in the theater when it came out, and nowadays I can barely get through them. You know,
we're gonna argue about the prequels all day. We just are.
But my go-to Star Wars movies are the ones I saw as a kid. Empire, I can just have on in the background. You know, that first trilogy, the OG trilogy for me are just gold for me. That's what I fell in love with as a kid. That's what stayed with me all throughout my life and held it down before everything. We thought that was it.
Yeah.
We never thought we were going to get any more of those. So, I'm at the point right now. So it's like, hey, if we get a new Star Wars movies, I'm sweet. I'm going to go see it. You know, I guess I'm just a fan.
Right, but I'm a fan also, but at the same time, when these new Star Wars movies come out, I'm learning more and more to lower my expectation, which I don't feel like I should do that with Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many movies out there that are pretty light shows. I can get that from other movies.
And see, that's the thing that's how I felt with the prequels. You know,
see, Eli, please watch the prequels again.
I just watched them this week.
No, I'm telling you, listen, watch the prequels again. The prequels are better than you're giving it credit for, because there are some things that the prequels do that are better than these new movies. Everybody shit on the politics on it, the CNN, legislation. That was very important. That's like one of the best parts of the movie.
I don't mind the stories and I don't mind the politics. It's just watching Anakin act like a bitch is like, ugh. Like I watched an Attack of the Clones the other day, and he's like, oh, it's not fair. And like, what the fuck does Padme see in this bitch? Like, she fucked this fucking guy? What the fuck? You know?
What do you think about Logan Paul? I mean,
yeah, basically, Logan Paul. Like, oh man, what hood rat wants this fucking guy? You know?
Logan Paul is sticking his dick in everything in Hollywood right now, and he looks just like Anakin.
Sad, yeah. I just like, let's not go there because we'll be here forever.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. But my whole thing is that there are some things I like better in the prequels, better than I like in these movies. First off, like one thing I love about the prequels, whatever you want to say, the lightsaber fights were awesome in the prequels.
Well, the lightsaber, I will. Yes, the lightsaber duels are way better in the prequels.
Yeah, and
some of the best lightsaber duels are in the prequels. Most of them are.
Yeah, and these new movies, I don't feel them. I mean, for one thing, there are too many of them, and they look too much the same. They have no personality to them. Like, all right, we about to go to the spoiler section because I can't talk about it until we talk to the spoiler section. Let me slap a score on this. 4. It's a 4. It's all good. Right.
It's good.
That's it. It's not the worst movie ever. Like I said, and people were telling me ahead of time, don't see that they're saying it's the worst Star Wars movie ever. That's just clickbait shit, man. If you can sit through those movies, if you can sit through the prequels, You'll like this movie. If you were a Star Wars fan, you will like this movie. If you're a Star Wars fan, why are you even listening to this podcast to begin with, or whether or not you should watch this movie? You should have already seen this movie once or twice already, because it's Star Wars. It gives you what you want and checks all the boxes, and nothing more.
And if you lost faith, then you probably ain't gonna give a fuck about it anyway.
Yeah. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you're not gonna like this movie either.
Yeah, if you didn't like The Force Awakens and you didn't like The Last Jedi, well, you ain't gonna like this one either.
This is not gonna sell you. That's just what it is.
Yeah, if it hasn't hooked you by now, forget about it.
Go watch Cats.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
Okay, so as we said, let's move into the spoiler section of it, and let's just really, really, really dig in here. What part did I leave? It was something I was about to say. Lightsaber fights. Okay. Now, there's how many times did Rey and Kylo lightsaber fight in this movie? Like 3-4 times or some shit? It was something. They were always lightsaber fight, and I felt nothing from it because you can tell they didn't go through that same.
There was that one where they were like
Skype chat calling, and they fought each other some shit, and and then they fought again on the
force
base
projection. Yeah, then they fought on the ocean thing.
And I'm like, okay, I get it, man. Yeah, this, and it just looked samey. Like there was no difference in between them. They would just swing. Now, like I said, the prequels, they had Jedi flipping and all this bullshit like that. They look like some goddamn ninjas.
Yeah,
the OG
Jedi
trilogy,
in their prime.
Yeah, the OG trilogy. I love the Star Wars, but it was different in the OG trilogy.
Yeah, there was emotions at stake.
Yeah, because it was more. And first off, they weren't even. Like, when Luke was going up against Vader, you were like, Luke halfway did his training, quit that shit. He's going against the baddest motherfucker in the universe. He's about to get his ass kicked. So there was drama there.
Yeah. And it still holds up because Vader's just fucking with them the whole time.
He's fucking the whole time. Like, you're better than what I thought you were, but you still suck. So he was still just beat the shit out of him when it was all said and done, and that was made it tension. That's what made you like Luke might not, and it really made you feel like when you first the movie, like Luke may not make it out this shit.
Yeah, and then and towards the end of it, you see Vader. Okay, you're starting to piss me off now. I got to cut your hand off.
Right.
Cut the shit, kid.
Right, and the whole thing, like you listen to George Lucas commentate, he was like, I want to show Luke at the end of this movie, like, yeah, he think he has a chance, but really he had no chance to begin with. Vader was just fucking him the whole time. And now the third movie, like I said, I've had my gripes with Return of the Jedi, but it was a difference in the lightsaber fight, and it was also because it was like Luke was fighting for his father's soul, but at the same time, you're not losing his own soul. So it was more like a psychological fight.
Yeah.
So it had it had its own moments also. So I like that. But like I said, the prequels, it was just Jedi, just flipping all over the place. Like this shit is just fucking awesome. Sometimes I just fast forward just to those parts.
Yoda pulling out his lightsaber versus Dooku at the end of
the crowd lost it.
I lost my shit that first time seeing it.
Right, you had those moments and that's the thing. Like when I was watching, like we had those moments of like, oh shit. When I was watching the Rise of the Skywalker, there was no moment where everybody just went, oh shit, it's about to happen. There was no Captain America grabbing Mjolnir about to smash Thanos. There was no moment like that in here. There was no Yoda grabbing a lightsaber or no Darth Maul pulling out, a double-bladed lightsaber. There was no moment like that in there. It was just, like I said, a light show. It was everything cranked up to 11. But the thing is...
I felt there was, but...
There was some, but there was the opposite effect. That was like when we were like, "Oh shit, they're about to do this." We're in
some of us, there was clapping in my theater.
My theater was kind of dry. That was But like I said, if it's a light show and you crank the light show up to 11 the whole time, you're really getting a 5. No, you can't leave shit just all the way up, turn all the way. So that's how I felt about that. And let me talk about Kylo Ren for a second. Now, like I said, we talked about. Now, this is where we're going to get a little bit political in this. So if you're angry or you're triggered, just giving you a heads up. Now, Kylo Ren, like I said, we've already said the new character is the most fleshed out character in these movies. He's the villain of the movie. He's the bad guy of the movie. But notice he's also the only white guy in the movie. Now,
General Hux?
Other new guys. Fuck Hux.
People cheered for Hux in my theater.
You mean when he died?
No, when
like, give him the fuck out.
Spoilers when he revealed to be the spy, when they made him the spy.
I saw that shit coming a mile away. That is another J.J. Abrams, I'm sorry, I apologize moment. The whole thing he did with Hux.
No, the people my theater went nuts when that. And they're like, yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying because they treated Hux like a bumbling idiot in the second movie. They were like, okay, get him the fuck out of here. He's a wasted character. So yeah, they just put him in here really just to kill him off. Because he served no purpose. At the end of the movie, it was another guy there anyway. So fuck Hux. Anyway, got Kylo Ren. Now the reason I bring that up is because remember, Disney is woke now. We're woke. Yeah. So they got everybody under the rainbow in these movies now. You got a black guy, you got an Asian chick, you got a white girl, you got a Hispanic dude, you got lesbians at the end of the movie.
Oh, wait, who's Hispanic now?
Oscar Isaac.
Is he?
Yes. He's like
he's not white.
He's not white. He's like Cuban or some shit.
Oh, I did not know that.
What the fuck, man? Yeah, he's the Hispanic token character of these movies. So they have the reputation of all of this. This is the Rainbow Coalition of this movie. So everybody's here.
I don't know. I thought he was like a white.
Yeah, he's Cuban or some shit, Guatemalan. You look it up.
Oh,
he's
damn. Yeah, I did not know that. Oh yeah, I just looked at Oscar Isaac Hernandez Estrada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. I thought he was white. Well, he was in Sucker Punch, and he was white as fuck in Sucker Punch.
That's true, but it's Zack Snyder. So that's my whole thing is that they have everybody under the rainbow in these movies, but we already said that everybody in the movie is underdeveloped. So they want everybody to feel special. Everybody want welcome. They want inclusion in everybody's movie, but everybody is underdeveloped in these movies. Finn is just there. Yeah. No art.
Well, that's the Disney safe. Playing it safe.
That's the thing. They're playing it safe, but at the same time, like, are they really giving us any benefit of it when everybody is a weak character, character-wise, except for Kylo Ren? Especially with all the horrible shit he does in this trilogy, and technically, Rey basically becomes a damsel in distress. Like, as powerful as the fuck she is, she becomes a damsel in distress at the end of the movie. Kylo Ren has to save her after all the fucked up shit he does in these movies.
Yeah, we saw that coming too.
We saw it. It was predictable.
There was going to be a redemption. Yeah,
we knew it was going to be a redemption story. Yeah, we knew that. So that's my whole thing about that. They say they're woke, but they're not really woke. They just throw these characters in there
because woke sells. That's we said this with Black Panther.
Right.
Woke sells.
Yeah. So that's the thing. They just throw characters in there. They don't flesh them out, and that's it. Rey, I feel nothing from it. Like I said, Rey is the most OP character. Now I can talk about this shit. She's the most OP character in movie history. At the end of this movie, she goes Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Jedi. I thought she was going to start yelling at the screen until her hair turned blue or some shit like that and then fight. She killed Palpatine.
Yeah.
Palpatine kicked Yoda's ass in the prequel.
Not really. He fell.
He did some shit, but the whole thing was like Obi-Wan was gonna fight Palpatine, and Yoda like, no, don't even think about it. Like Palpatine will kill you in a second. Palpatine killed like 5 Jedi Masters in like 2 seconds.
That and the shittiest fucking that duel sucks.
I thought it was kind of funny, especially when the guy was yelling.
Oh, that duel sucks, and that pisses me off.
It was 5 Jedi Masters, man. Come on.
Yeah, and they didn't do shit.
Because it's Palpatine.
Shit, he was an old, crusty old bastard. He just comes up and
like
just
in the Kung Fu movies, the old guy always know every fucking thing.
Shit, I was like, that was the worst choreography ever.
It was 2 old dudes just going at it. Samuel Jackson was in past his prime also. So yeah, you can tell Palpatine's face was CGI on like a 20-year-old body.
Yeah.
It's like you can do that shit with Photoshop, just like put somebody's face on there. So yeah, but that's that. Point is, canonically speaking, Palpatine is a bad motherfucker. So,
well, yeah, it's supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah. So in this movie, Palpatine is actually more powerful now than he was in those movies. He raises his hand to the sky and kills the whole rebel flight. I mean, almost kills them by himself with no Star Killer army, just him by himself.
Yeah.
And now Rey is on the ground, and everybody whispers to us, Samuel Jackson and Yoda and Oshkosh B'gosh and whatever other Jedi master they have. You are the one. There is no air or some shit. She gets up. Now she's all Jedis in one. And
yeah,
she can just obliterate him and turn him into atoms.
That's what she did.
What the fuck,
then she died.
Yeah. She died.
She died.
Yeah, then Kylo Ren used the and I see a lot of people complain about the Force healing shit. Look, it's Star Wars movie. You expect to see new Force powers.
Baby Yoda did it, motherfuckers.
Baby Yoda did it, so you gotta go there. And it happened the episode before this movie came out. Plus, if you read it was in one of those video games, Force healing. I mean, it's not a thing in the movies, but in any other source material you read it or see, it's there. So I'm not concerned about Force healing. It's a thing.
Now people are just bitching.
People just bitching just a bitch. Yes, sir. Because you expect to see new Force powers in every Star Wars movie you see. It's like one of the things. It's like the James Bond gadgets with Q. Q's gonna give you new shit. Okay, but if you just do the same shit over and over again, it gets monotonous. Like I said, these are movies, and they're fantasy movies. So you can just do whatever. There are no rules.
Yeah,
you can do whatever you want to do. And so, which is another problem I think with this movie, that I think they tried to adhere to the old rules of the old movies, like trilogy. This should have been 2 movies, Eli. Let's split this up. This felt like, because they crammed so much shit in these movies, it felt like they took Infinity War and Endgame and tried to make it one movie. They should have made.
That's the thing. It's like I from day one I thought they were telling the wrong story. You know, but that's just me. I don't want to get into too much details. But if you're going with the Skywalker saga, we should have saw, you know, that Jedi Temple or that Jedi Academy that Luke started. We should have saw, you know, the Knights of Ren, and we should have saw
the Knights of Ren. They were just thrown in this shit.
Yeah.
And they built them up to be badasses, and Kylo Ren took them out like nothing.
Yeah, without a lightsaber.
Right,
until he had one. Yeah.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
I mean, my thing was that they were just thrown in there. They weren't built up to be anything. No, and that's another problem with these movies. Like, the movie was just trying to end at such a breakneck speed that they were just throwing in shit without fleshing it out. Like the Knights of Ren, they were supposed they should have been badass, but I felt nothing from them. At the end of the day, they were just a more faceless goons. They were just stormtroopers in black robes.
Yeah, but then again, you know, watching the prequels, like the beginning of episode 1. They land on the thing, negotiations go short, they fight a bunch of fucking droids, go down on the planet, swim the fucking Jar Jar thing, fight a bunch of sea monsters, come back, rescue the princess, and then go meet Anakin after like a half hour. Like,
okay, that's true. Like I said, that story has some structural problems also. But are we comparing the Knights of Ren to droids? That's the thing. Well, like, I feel like they should have been more fleshed out. You know, find out where they came from.
That's another comic book too, because Empire Strikes Back and introduced all those. Introduced Boba Fett.
They'll all have names. All have their own separate
comics. I mean, we're going by old school rules. I mean, we didn't have a problem back then because we had the toys to fill in we used our own imagination.
They're gonna make a story about the big one. They're gonna make a story about the skinny one. They're gonna make the one about.
I picked up the visual dictionary.
I'm not reading that shit. I'm not. Did they say anything about because that's a cop out. I get it. You did it for a collector's reason, but that's a cop out because all the shit that they
explains to all the members. Yeah, what they do. They all got names. They all got names. What they are. They are force sensitive. They were basically supposed to be like inquisitors from the rebels.
Well, I'm glad you have a go-to manual for some shit that's supposed to be in the movie. Awesome.
Yeah. And did you know Lando had a daughter that was kidnapped by the First Order?
I did not know that. The movie did not say anything about that. They made it seem like that he was hitting on that chick, which I thought was creepy as fuck. You know,
you know what I laughed. You know what made me and Izzy laugh when he goes, "Give Leia my love."
Like, yeah, Han's dead, right? Okay, yeah, time to shoot my shot. Play the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they still want Lando to be Lando, but yeah, in 80s Lando in the 80s, yeah, he would have pulled that chick. But 80-year-old Lando, it just came off like really, really creepy. like your old granddad, like sugar daddy, you know. So you're trying to pay through college? Well, I can help you out with that.
Yeah, there's a whole section on the Knights of Ren. There's a whole section on, I did not know this, but that beginning scene, Kylo Ren is on Mustafar. Killing all those fucking. It turns out it's a cult of Vader worshippers.
Huh. That would have been nice to know in the movie.
That would have been nice to just see.
Right.
No, and they're a cult of Vader. They've been holding down Mustafar ever since Vader died, and Kylo Ren
It's
is going around.
basically like a tourist attraction.
Yeah, well, they basically pay tribute to Vader, and Kylo Ren's been going around killing all the old Sith because he wants to be, the ultimate Sith Lord.
Oh. See, this is what I'm talking about, Eli.
But that's what they said in the beginning. He wants to erase Palpatine.
Right, but then he joins them, and that's another thing. That's another thing.
He joined them because he needed Rey to help him.
That's the reason Vader joined them. Like they always, when I get what I want, I'll betray him. That's what the Sith do. They always fuck each other over. But at the end of the day, that's another thing that they retcon from The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi, Kylo Ren was like,
okay, let's fucking get into it. Because this is my biggest fucking gripe.
Okay.
Is what they did. Is the big reveal of who Rey was.
Oh, but we called it.
We called it.
Yep.
And that was one of the theories. I mean, the popular theory was she's a Kenobi.
Yeah.
Another theory is she might be a secret Han Solo kid, out of wedlock, like Creed, right. and one of the theories was she would be a Palpatine.
Right.
I just felt that she's a Palpatine. I felt that was like the weakest and the less interesting one out of all of them.
And it doesn't even make any sense. So
No.
Palpatine got down
I guess we don't know. Yeah, who knows?
in the 80s somewhere. No, maybe not the 80s. Oh,
it's her granddaughter. Yeah, that's the thing. So it says she's the granddaughter of Palpatine. Yeah, that doesn't interest me. That's just the worst one out of all the theories was her being that.
Eli, no matter what they would have done, it would have been a lazy theory.
Yeah.
It would have been lazy writing.
I thought, like Fat T from the Savs, he had a cool theory about her being a clone. And that was like,
that
damn,
would be cool.
sounds fun.
Okay, let's get into that because what the fuck was Palpatine? Was he a clone? Did he survive the last thing? What was he?
I don't know. After 2 viewings, it seems like they probably recovered his body somehow and been having him on dialysis because he was hooked up to that machine and he was all weak and shit. But remember, he sucks out that life force power from them and heals himself. That's when he gets all Super Saiyan.
Right. But my whole thing is, he fell from Bottom's pit, from the Death Star. The Death Star blew up in space and then entered orbit and crashed into the water. How the fuck he survived that?
Maybe he was on fire and the water put it out. I don't know.
God, this is... You see what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like, Star Wars fans, we excuse this lazy-ass writing. And that's why somebody that's not a Star Wars fan, like these critics, they just look at this shit like, y'all really excusing this shit? Like, that's why I'm like 2 different ways about this movie.
Or they use the Infinity Gauntlet.
You always got to bring it back tomorrow.
Just snap them all back and we'll be all good. Or time travel. Hey, at least they didn't do time travel.
I'm just saying, give us. At least they gave an explanation. Those Marvel.
Because we were afraid they were going to do time travel. That's the one thing Star Wars has not done yet.
They try to stay away from that shit as much as possible. But the point is, at least they give. No matter how flimsy the explanation is, they give explanation. This Palpatine is just back because reasons. He has an army of Star Killers that pretty much have the power of a Death Star, and it's a whole planet of them that nobody knows about.
Yeah,
because
that was hiding. That's kind of like the Thrawn sort of story arc, because Thrawn had a whole fleet kind of in hiding, all this time
of planet killers,
of Star Destroyers.
Oh, okay, I guess. I don't. Let's go with it. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it's so many other issues. But I mean, honestly, Eli, the more I'm talking about this movie, the more I'm getting pissed.
I can tell.
Because I'm seeing 2 ways, but I'm just saying, I'm keep picking out shit that's getting on my nerves about it. Let's talk about another thing. Like I said, we keep talking about representation. We keep talking about how they keep shoehorning these characters in or just push them to the side. Let's talk about the most criminal act they did about one of these characters in the movie. Rose.
Oh yeah,
what
that was a
retcon
too.
That was just wrong.
Yeah.
Because they hyped all this up because we know how she got this backlash in The Last Jedi, and they promised everybody, don't worry, Rose will be back. Rose will be back. She'll be here. Don't worry. Had in the press tour and stuff like that. She was in the trailer, stuff like that. They show her in the movie, stuff like that. Briefly, Finn shows up and just like, hey, Rose, we're gonna kill some bad guys. You wanna come? Nah, I got a thing. Okay, bye. Like, what the fuck? Isn't that the love of your life? Supposedly? Is he gonna walk around like these damn coworkers?
Who knows? But that was another apology. That was another, okay, let's not piss off the butthurt fanboys. Let's put her, let's keep her at the office.
You're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're trying to be woke, but you want to appease the fanboys also. And I think that was basically,
that's the thing. Yeah, there's those things where they're just apologizing for The Last Jedi.
She got Jar Jar. That's what happened.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I had no issue. I like The Last Jedi. So I can see why critics are like, okay, well, here's The Last Jedi, where Star Wars sort of took a different approach to, its mythology, and that's what they enjoyed about it. And this one sort of just fixes all that and basically throws everything The Last Jedi set up in the trash.
Right.
And just let's go back to what fans want. Let's just, give them what they want, And some of that is like, I would have liked to have seen, I like the fact that Rey wasn't a nobody, but we knew they were going to fix that. I would like to,
I think the thing is making her a Palpatine or Kenobi or whatever the fuck you want to creates more problems in general with the story.
Yeah, because now you're shoehorning yourself. You're writing yourself into a corner. Now you have to go back and make whatever, you got to serve the past now.
Right.
It changes the past stories.
Here's my thing about the Jedi or the Force and thing like that. But supposedly we've also believed that the Force, anybody can inherit the Force. But now they're saying no, it has to be in your bloodline to do that. You have to be a Skywalker, you have to be a Palpatine, whatever like that. So it's not So it's not really anybody can get this power or randomly can just be anybody. No, it's all in here. You got to be an X-Man. It's the X gene.
Yeah,
that's what they're telling me.
And that's like I said, that's the less interesting story to me. I like the fact that she was just nobody, or that whole thing. If she was a clone, like what if she was a clone?
Now, if she was a clone, I would have been fine with that. I would have been fine.
We were talking about because remember her vision in The Last Jedi when she saw all those reflections of herself. There was a bunch of her. What if there is a bunch of her out there? Mm-hmm. And maybe the Rey we see in these movies that's the one that had the highest midi-chlorians count. And that's why she went in hiding, because the First Order were after her, some shit. And that there is dark Reys out there, and she actually had to go kill them and shit.
Oh, now if she made a clone army of dark Reys at the end of the movie, that would have been 5 out of 5 for me.
That would have been awesome.
Like just popped out of nowhere, like, oh shit.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. That's the movie I would have liked to have seen. But,
right.
I've learned by now, after the prequels, that I'm not going to see the movie I want to see.
Right. But, Eli, the more you talk, the more I'm like, is this really a 4 out of 5? I'm struggling.
Hey, I go by how I felt. I came out of that theater like, woo, like I said. Even the second time around, I came out of woo.
I'm trying, Eli. I'm trying, but the more you keep talking, the more I keep talking about this movie verbally, I seem to be getting more pissed than I am excited about this movie. So because they keep doing these things that are irritating about this movie. Oh, and another thing. Oh yeah, Kylo Ren and Rey kissing at the end. We know they're cousins, right?
That was also the people were bitching about. They wanted that. They were talking the Reylo. They've been talking about that shit since the last movie. The Reylo, we want to see Reylo. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's so stupid.
Well, you got to have a romance in the movie. So why not have a romance with the most toxic dude in the movie? The movie that dude has been abusing her, beating her left and right, talking down to her the whole time. You'll have a relationship with that guy. Not
Kylo Ren is like basically the butthurt fanboys. He represents butthurt fanboys.
Is that why everybody likes him so much?
Yeah. I think it's like Joker. That's the thing I think he's a bitch. But he's basically the fucking the guy who likes all the old shit and wants to.
Which is the shit they did in The Last Jedi. He gave that shit up. Leave the Jedi alone. Leave the Sith alone. In this movie, what he's doing? He's wearing the fucking mask again.
Yeah, he's worshiping his Vader mask. He's just a whiny bitch who comes from privilege, but just bitching about He's just a bitch, and she hooks up again. Like, what do you see in this fucking guy?
Right. Meanwhile, you have the black dude and the Hispanic dude.
Yeah.
I think going after. I don't. What is their relationship? What the fuck is that?
What you talk about? Poe and Finn being gay?
Maybe. I'm just saying, like, what is going on with this triangle?
Fuck,
Like, is there
me
something?
Give me that. That would be cool. But
Yeah, honestly, if that would have happened, I would be like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they try to make it seem like it's a love triangle, but it's no love triangle. First off, every chick in the universe is trying to fuck Finn.
Yeah.
And he's just ignoring this shit because I think he's going after Rey, but he never says it.
When they said that there's gay representation in the new Star Wars movie,
yeah,
one of those articles broke.
It's in that book you got. It's in that book you have.
I was like, is it going to be Finn and Poe? That's what I thought at first. Like, really? Are they going there? Like, no way. And then, of course, it wasn't. It was just two random chicks at the end.
Yeah, that's all it was. So, but at the same time, it's if you don't pay attention to it, you'll miss it. So it doesn't piss anybody off.
Yeah.
But they make a big deal about it because, like I said, Disney is woke.
Well, it got banned in what country banned it? Some countries already banned it.
Some shit. You know, they just cut. That's the thing. It's so easy to cut out. You'll never notice it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing. Like, so you got Finn, every chick in the universe trying to fuck him. He's ignoring him to go after Rey. Rey may have something going on with Poe. We don't know. Like I said, Finn and Poe have the most sexual chemistry out of anybody in these movies anyway.
But then Poe's got that ex-bounty hunter chick who, you know, I'm sure they banged back in the day.
Oh, yeah, you know they had a thing. Because, like I said, he's Han Solo. He's not the Han Solo type. He's just Han Solo. So, of course, he's going to bang everything in the universe also.
Yeah.
And so, oh, man, this is... Now I'm trying to remember what are the good points about this movie. I'm trying to like it, Eli. I guess we just going to be just too divided on this movie because it's one of those movies I feel like just like Fast and the Furious and just like Transformers, I'm just going to forget about it. I'm just not going to think about this movie again.
I don't know. When Leia died, I cheered up when fucking Chewie started.
But that's my
when
thing,
Chewie
though.
lost it.
Right. Like all of the old characters I was connected with. Leia. I'm finally glad they actually confirmed and explained that, yes, Leia had for Jedi training.
Yeah.
Because at the end of Return of the Jedi, Luke said he was going to train her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now we see her training, but she gave it up because she had a vision of that if she keeps doing this, eventually, you know, her son Ben Solo was going to become, you know, Sith Lord or whatever like that. So that's why she gave it up. But he ended up doing it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Like I said, this was like basically an Indiana Jones movie. You know, it was them going on a quest, trying to find these antiquities so they can find a map, so they can do this thing. And it was, you know, Indiana Jones mixed with the Goonies. You know, remember the Chester Copperpot? They found the guy in the skeleton, and they got the compass that they put up against the sky, and they see the thing. And, you know, it was a bunch of that shit for me. And I was having fun with it. You know, this was fun. You know, like I said, I was having a good time with it.
I had fun. I'm talking all this shit, but I had fun. I was entertained, but is that all we're getting from Star Wars? Like I said, I guess I'm one of those fans. I expect more. I have a higher, you know.
Maybe you are.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've come to terms with these already. like I said, with the prequels.
Dude, should I have these high expectations? Now that I think about it, should I have the expectations? Like I said, yes, the first movie, cultural phenomenon. It bled into like the fabric of America. I get that. That's what the movie is. Second movie, top 10 cinema list of all time on IMDb. So we went all these words like that. I get that. But you already said, you said so yourself that Empire Strikes Back is the best movie of this franchise.
Yeah.
So
but that was 30 years ago.
40 years ago.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
So is that what we're saying? This franchise peaked 40 years ago?
Yeah.
So should I hold the same standard for a franchise that peaked 40 years ago?
No. Because your expectations are gone when you were a kid back then.
You're right.
You know? You were a kid, and that's what I said. Like I said, with the prequels, I'm like, okay, so that's what these things are going to be. Okay.
You already justice.
And The Force Awakens the same way. Okay, I thought Luke was going to be in this movie, and he's not. Okay, so this is all about a bunch of new characters now. Okay, well, sure, why not? It's a Star Wars movie. Fine, I'm there. You know,
and maybe that's the problem we're having with fans. Because I think the biggest problem in this franchise is the fans, and I guess I'm part of the problem also. I think that we have nostalgia goggles on. We expect these movies to be better than what they are.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had to come to terms with that. My trilogy, I got to see Luke kick all the ass 40 years ago. That was mine. Those are my stories. And the rest has just been expansion of the universe. I'm not expecting much out of them, but they are fleshing out. They're giving me more of that world. And that's what I enjoy. I'm just appreciating all these other glimpses into this world that I fell in love with as a kid.
But that's the problem with these movies, these Disney Star Wars movies. They're not expanding the world. They're going back to the well.
Yeah, but still, it's new stories, and it's just because what did we do? I mean, for me, I had a bunch of the toys. That's what it was. I mean, I played with all these toys, and I imagined this thing in my head. And that's why people feel so especially the old school fans. They feel so personal. That like they take ownership over it because we took this shit home. The toys were so much a part of this fandom. We took this shit home with us, and we imagined all these stories back then. And we couldn't binge these movies. Remember, we had to wait years between each movies. And in between those years, we played with all those toys and imagined all these different stories in our heads of what this universe is supposed to be. And now here we are, 40 years later, a bunch of motherfuckers who can't grasp that hey, you were a kid back then. Your toys aren't canon. So, and that's what it is. And I'm like I said, after the prequels, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not how I play with my toys, but you know what, whatever. It's more Star Wars, it's expanding the universe, and I'm fine with that. And that's all, as a fan, that's all I count it as a blessing, because this could have ended 40 years ago, And now I still think, hey, the fact that it's still going and we still have new Star Wars movies, I'm gonna still enjoy it and appreciate the fuck out of everyone that comes out, even Solo, which I did not like.
I'm just saying, Eli, if the thing turns into Fast Food in space, I'll still like it, but I'm just lowering my expectations. That's all. I mean,
and that's
just what it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's what Solo was for me. Just mediocre and like, that's what it was. It was basically Fast and Furious.
I mean, it was that for me also. Like I said, it was the best out of those movies just because it was the one I hated the least. I
mean, yeah, and I mean, even though I like The Last Jedi, it's not what I wanted.
Right. It did a lot of expectation, like subverting expectation. Like, okay, I thought about that.
It isn't what I wanted, but it also made me think, and it took it in different.
But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, and it brought up different ideas and themes that usually Star Wars movies don't do. Yeah. That you don't see in Star Wars movies, and that's why I like it so much, is because it tried to be different, and it tried to bring up these different concepts that I tried to talk about for the past 2 years, but I couldn't, because every time I did, people would just bitch at.
Well, see, now you can do that, Eli. That's the thing, because honestly, I feel like the fandom is repaired.
Yeah. Well, you can't talk about Last Jedi, though.
Well, not the last. You can't talk about the Last Jedi. That's still in the box. But the point is, you can talk about Star Wars again now, because even though the critics hate this movie,
it's still been only a week.
Oh shit, you're right. Because that's what every Star Wars movie. We love every Star Wars movie the first week out.
Yeah, but even just leading up to this, I mean, I almost got kicked out of a fucking group the other day. This was before the movie came out. Just because I decided I like this shit, and if you don't, lick my ass. And that's my attitude these days. And I've been pissing a lot of people who don't like this shit.
Right, and that's what I want to make sure, Eli. That's what I want to make sure that you're not white knighting for this movie.
Oh no, I'm just celebrating the fact that I get to see another Star Wars movie.
Okay,
it's just that simple. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie of all time, but I had fun with it and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would, and because of that, that makes me even more happy about it. The fact that it wasn't shitty, that it wasn't Solo for me, it wasn't just mediocre or whatever. It wasn't a fucking prequel or whatever. The fact that I enjoyed it as much as I did made me even happier. I could not be more happy. As a Star Wars fan, I can't be more happy
honestly,
than enjoying.
I feel like I said, it's still early. We're prison at the moment, but I do feel like when it's all said and done, this will probably be the most well-received Star Wars movie among Star Wars fans that we've had probably since the original trilogy.
Yeah, Maybe.
Now, like I said, if you're not into Star Wars, you're gonna hate this movie, but we don't expect you to like this movie anyway. But against the fans, I think for the most part we're gonna be on board. I don't think this is gonna. Yeah. I don't think we're gonna rage over this one like we did The Last Jedi.
No, I think it's just fan service. I mean,
and I think because the movie plays it so safe, I think that's why we're not gonna rage over it.
Yeah, and in the end, what is fan service a bad thing? No.
But I think if they would have killed Chewie, or if they would have completely erased C-3PO's memory, it would have been white, and they wouldn't have replaced it. Then we'd have some talking points. That would have been some controversy. There was nothing controversial in this movie.
No. I mean, because I almost freaked out when I thought Chewie was dead for a little bit.
I knew for a second that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and I thought, like, okay, if they blow up the Millennium Falcon, fuck that.
Yeah.
If they blow up R2, fuck that.
Right.
Fuck this shit.
And that's because, remember, this movie is an apology. This movie is an apology letter, so they're not going to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, they're going to, it's fan service. And why is that? Is that a bad thing? I don't think it is. You know, it's a total tribute to the franchise and to fans and giving us what we like about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's all Avengers Endgame was. It's just a bunch of fan service and a tribute to all the old movies. Shit, half the movie was showing us the other old movies. You know? Yeah.
Like a flashback clip or whatever, you know. Yeah,
it's the greatest hits. That's greatest all. Hits, yeah, Endgame was just the greatest hits, and that made $1 billion fucking, and no one's
because even
though
those movies came out 10 years ago, it played on nostalgia factor.
Yeah, and no one bitches about that.
Hey, remember this? Hey, remember that?
Yeah, but for some reason, having lightsabers in a fucking Star Wars movie is a problem all of a sudden. It's just like, I think Star Wars, there's some expectations that Star Wars has that people hold it to a higher standard, and I also think there's a resentment that Star Wars is this big thing in our popular culture, that there's like a rebellion against it. There's like a cool factor to be hip and edgy, to basically knock it and shit on it, you know, because it's the popular thing. Yeah. It's like you said, it's the shit your parents were into.
Right. You know? But we're our parents, so.
And now we are, you know, so.
Oh, well.
But other than that,
have we exhausted everything? I got nothing left to bitch about. I had all my notes that I was going to bitch about, but I've got them all out.
I don't have anything to bitch about.
So I guess I don't know how to feel about this movie, man. I'm conflicted. Next week, I probably feel like
I saw it twice, and I want to see it again. That's how. And like I said, I picked up the visual dictionary, and I'm reading through it like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. That should have been in the movie. Blah 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 blah. But you know,
I'll probably go see it again just to I don't know, because I think I need more to see it again just to wrap my head around this movie, how I really feel about it. You know.
Yeah.
Because I'm all over the place with this movie right now.
And I do. I watch every movie at least twice, even Solo. I went and saw Solo twice.
Even Batman vs Superman,
just to make sure.
Oh, you mean Star Wars?
No, okay. I didn't only saw it. BBS was.
So I'm the only one that saw it 3 times. Okay, that's fine.
You only saw. Damn, dude, that's some hard shit.
Yeah, fuck, I want to say it. That's my truth. Like I said, I'm gonna live my truth today. This is my confessional booth right now.
You just like your badass points. Just fucking. You leveled up with me, man. You got strength I didn't know you had.
Oh, damn. All right, so can we wrap this up? I think we've talked about this.
Sure, yeah.
We've got all the points we got out there. If you listen this long, definitely like, share, subscribe. We have other sister podcast, Geek Sam. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm going to listen to it, but I know y'all dropped a Star Wars review also. Mm-hmm. Let's do it. See we go from there. Like I said, go listen to Comic Cast. They did all those books that we didn't feel like doing because first off, we broke.
They had Matthew Rosenberg on today. I heard.
Oh shit! I forgot to plug Matthew Rosenberg. I want to know, did they ask him about that radical Islamist? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. We'll have to listen.
I guess we will. I know they're gonna ask about what did you think about Valiant or whatever. No, fuck that. Ask about the radical Islamists. That's what I want to know.
In that issue of Punisher, War Machine.
Fuck all that. Oh shit! And we got a whole bunch of the podcasts too. But yeah, like I said, Merry Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Life Day or whatever the fuck you celebrate. Happy holidays. We will come back with another episode next week. We'll talk about some other stuff, and hopefully we'll be more united than we are now. Until then, this is Leroy.
This is Eli.
Happy Life Day.
This holiday is yours, but we all share with you the hope that this day brings us closer to freedom and to harmony and to peace. No matter how different we appear, we're all the same in our struggle against the powers of evil and darkness. I hope that this day will always be a day of joy in which we can reconfirm our dedication and our courage, and more than anything else, our love for one another. This is the promise of the Tree of Life.